Welcome, everyone, to episode 60 of the Chris Perish podcast. My name is Chris Perish, and you are in for a treat. But first off, I want to thank the good old sponsors of the Chris Perish podcast. That is right. You see right on that right part of your screen all the beautiful sponsors that we have, and we cannot start off with anyone better than the proud sponsor of beercadewhyte. That's right. Make sure you're checking them out on the socials at beercadewhyte on X and on Facebook at beercadewhyte, as well as the Instagram under that same handle, and check them out locally in the Edmonton, Alberta area at 10544 82nd Avenue. And make sure you're checking them out on February 1 as they host the WWE Royal Rumble. It's a free screening, and you can go and check out and have some fun and maybe win some prizes as they hand out a number 1 to 30 for the Royal Rumble matches. And if that entrant that you have ends up winning, you will receive a prize, and you might even get something more. Also want to check out Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And for more information, you can go to affiliationprogram.my.canva.site to get your introduction to podcasting, to content creation, and also to be a part of the Turnbuckle Studios family. Welcoming in the chat, we have Chris Best. Hello, how are you doing? Also, want to thank everyone who is checking us out on the X and on Facebook. That is right. A huge announcement is that officially, as of this week on Facebook and Instagram Live, the Chris Perish podcast has become monetized. So I want to thank every single one of you who has helped me get to that point. And if you want to help the Chris Perish podcast on those platforms, make sure not only are you subscribed, you're following, but make sure you engage on the platforms, because engagement is such a big thing. So get active in the chats, ask away, but understand if you're asking on Instagram, your comments will not appear on the StreamYard thing. So bear with me on the patience on that as we get a little bit more advanced, hopefully down the road. So so hopefully in due time. We do have Bobby's stats in on the Instagram, and I appreciate you, Bobby, for that. Bobby, if you do have Facebook, check out the Facebook as well. Make sure that you like the Chris Perish podcast on Facebook. And hello, Bobby. How are you doing? Well, always appreciate you every week. Every time you check out any of the streams that I'm on, I always appreciate every single one of you. It's just water, people. But yeah. Big week in pro wrestling as we saw episode 2 of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and we saw some history being made. That's right. Lyra Valkyria defeats Dakota Kai to become your inaugural Women's WWE Intercontinental Champion. That's right. If you've been following from the very beginning, predicted Lyra Valkyria as my front runner to win the Intercontinental Championship. I said, if not her, I'd like to see Natalya. I think there's a feel-good story there, and I think the Intercontinental Championship and the Hart family kind of go just hand in hand. However, I did say if you wanted a workhorse to go with that Women's Intercontinental Championship, just like the perception of the men's was, as a workhorse championship, then who better than Lyra Valkyria? And I think they got it right. A lot of people wanted Dakota Kai, and that's the great thing about pro wrestling. You can like so many different pieces, companies, individuals. One day, I do believe Dakota Kai will be an Intercontinental Champion. I think the match they had was absolutely phenomenal. The suplex off the apron onto the floor. Now that one had everyone on the Raw patrol going, because that looked painful. I think compliments and congratulations goes out to not just Lyra, but also Dakota Kai for putting on a fantastic match. But ultimately, a second congratulations, as Bobby Petito is saying in Instagram, congratulations to Lyra Valkyria on making history on Raw and becoming the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champion. Chris Best is coming in saying, supposedly Natty tried hard to convince people backstage to book her to win the IC Championship. I highly doubt that. I think she probably made a big case of wanting to go and be a part of it. I don't know. I think who doesn't want to be Intercontinental Champion? What female on that roster didn't want to be not only a part or be that person to win that championship? So I think all these like smoky rumors about, you know, maybe this person like said I wanted this, I wanted that, like that's all hearsay. I'm sure every single individual in that locker room wants to be a champion, wanted to be that first ever. And again, with high respect, I think Natty and her family are synonymous with that championship. But I don't believe for one second that, you know, there was this, oh, you're picking the wrong person. If that, like, you're just not, if it's not me, it's not the right person. I don't know. Like, not saying like that's what you're saying, Best, but I'm just saying, like, I just don't think Natty was that person to politic her way into a match. I think she probably tried to convince people to say, yeah, I should be your pick. Yeah, pick me. But I don't think she's going to be that person to say, you picked the wrong person. But I mean, again, who didn't want to be Intercontinental Champion? Who didn't want to be the very first? Who didn't want that spotlight to make history in the WWE? But yeah, ultimately, Lyra Valkyria is your champion. Very intrigued to see who she defends first. We just saw Chelsea Green win the U.S. Championship and face Michin in a rematch. Is that something we will see with Lyra Valkyria? Do we see Lyra versus Dakota Part 2? I wouldn't be against it. In fact, that would be the time where if you did that, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Pure Fusion Collective get involved. And then you saw maybe, just maybe, Lyra and the team of Dakota and Kyrie and EO kind of go up against Pure Fusion Collective in some way. I don't know. I'm not too sure what you would do in that case. Although with the transfer window, I think anything is possible, because as of Monday, we saw Nia Jax on Raw. So whether or not she's going to be on Raw moving forward or if she remains on SmackDown, I think has been yet to be determined. I'm very much on the side of WWE. Please give me a little bit more information and specifics about the timeline of this transfer window, because I think a lot of people, just like myself, thought it was about to end or going to end before the Raw on Netflix. I think that was kind of that reset. Then all of a sudden we're hearing, oh, maybe it's going up to the Royal Rumble. Maybe it's going to go all the way to WrestleMania. That's a pretty large transfer window, if you ask me. I'm just not sure who is I'm just not sure where this is going. Like, I just want a little bit more of information. Bobby coming in and saying maybe someone from Pure Fusion Collectives will go against Lyra Valkyria. Sonya Deville would be actually a solid pick, as I think she was the only one not involved in the tournament. However, I do see Zoe Stark eventually being that person to defeat Lyra. I do. So I'm very, very much, unless you turn Natalia heel and have her join the Pure Fusion Collective, which I don't think would be a bad idea. Make that a 4-person group, and then you can have, someone go after the women's title. You have someone going after the Intercontinental, and then the other two go after the women's tag. We always talk about those kind of groups for the men's side. I think maybe it's time to start looking at maybe doing that for the women's side. And I wouldn't think it's a bad thing at all. And why not Pure Fusion Collective? Why not them? I mean, we've seen just about everyone else there. Whether it's Dakota Kai, Damage Control, and all them. I mean, they've been kind of run down. I do think, ultimately, I do have Io as my front runner for the Women's Royal Rumble. So, I don't know. Maybe this could be a thing post WrestleMania. I don't know. I do hope that we do see a Intercontinental Women's match on Saturday night's main event that I believe is next Saturday or this Saturday. So yeah, that should be a lot of fun. So make sure you're checking out, I'm sure, the Turnbuckle Studios platform, and I'm sure there's going to be something about a watch along. So stay tuned on that aspect. If you're also wanting to know more about watch alongs, make sure you're checking out Brace for Impact tonight, as they are watching TNA Genesis. Does Joe Hendry become the new TNA World Champion as he faces the wanted man, Nick Nemeth? And Chris Best is saying we will be doing a PLE patrol, but it's not a PLE. It's just a special event. But nonetheless, there's something going on. So make sure you're checking out Turnbuckle Studios and Chris Best a little bit more for that. Yeah, Lyra, Valkyria, Chelsea Green, the ones who make history as your first ever United States and Intercontinental champions, respectfully. I just want to also apologize. I am getting a little sick, so that is what you're hearing. So bear with me on that. What else? We saw a debut of debuts on Monday night. Penta is now WWE. Yeah, there's no special catchphrase like All Elite in WWE. Penta is in the WWE. A lot of controversy came and arose on Monday, early Monday, when you saw the merchandise drop for Penta. A lot of people weren't too happy with that, saying, "Oh, why are you giving us this now? We thought it was going to be a big surprise." Bobby, I think, thank you for that. And I will be talking a little bit more about TNA Genesis, so I will get to that comment just a little bit later, if you don't mind. But yeah, Penta goes up against Chad Gable in that first match. But first off, on that end about the merchandise thing, did you not see the graphic people who are going on their social medias and complaining about, "Nah, why did we get this? Nah, we thought it was going to be a surprise"? Did you not see the effing graphic that said his freaking name? Did you think it was another Penta? Was it, like, seriously? Like, why are we living in a world where you get what you want, you're getting something cool, and then guess what? You still reach into those jeans, you find out a piece of flint, and you still bitch about it? Can we just not be excited? Can you, people that decide to go on social media, can you not just be excited that you are getting something absolutely unreal and amazing? And guess what? The WWE is saying, here's an early opportunity to not just witness this live and see something absolutely cool, but you have a chance to support this person by wearing a mask or wearing a t-shirt, getting the memorabilia before it happens, so you can just rake in the excitement. You can just hit level 10 on your yeah baby meter. I think that was more important. Michael Cole flat out said the worst kept secret. I don't think it was a secret. I don't think it was a surprise. I think anybody who followed Penta throughout the whole process knew it was him as soon as they saw the very first image. As we all know, those videos evolved over time, where at first you just got the one image, then you got the shape of the mask, then you started seeing the eyes, then you got the name. Chris Best is saying, to me, these fans sound like one kid that got what they wanted for Christmas, but are still mad about it because it's the wrong color. I'm not going to get to the wrong color debate, but Bobby's saying, welcome Penta to WWE, and that's just it, right? Like, what we saw was something big, and that was Penta becoming a member of the WWE roster. And not just that, but now we were curious on how it was going to look, right? Because in the past, we've always heard, oh, don't go to WWE. They're going to change your name. They're going to change your gimmick. They're going to make you a comedy act. They're going to make you a cartoon figure. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They're not going to let you be yourself. But since Triple H has taken over, we've seen a lot more of just being yourself. In fact, Cody Rhodes came to the WWE, and guess what? He was himself, and that was still under Vince McMahon. So people really need to kind of just take a little step back, because WWE is not about changing who you are anymore. WWE is not about let's say thank you for doing this for your first 15 years, but we're going to get you to do this for the next. No. Yes, you see the change in, say, Brian Pillman Jr. to Lexus King. But guess what? That was a collaboration between the two parties wanting to do something different, wanting to not use the name Brian Pillman, not wanting to just do the same thing. In fact, carving up your own path. And it's respectable. He took other family names and created a whole new identity for himself. Penta, on the other hand, back to the topic, Penta was exactly what he's always been. And the first image that should have made you realize that Penta was the same was when he was doing his little strut down the aisle. Very reminiscent, in my eyes, of one Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. But it really was Penta to a T. He does his little taunt at the entrance, which, let's face it, that entrance was badass. He has the fires just flying upwards behind him. He has the darkness. He has the red lighting. He has all the cool pyro that he could have. And then when the smoke clears, Penta is Penta. He does his weird strut. He connects with the fans. And guess what? Penta has arrived. And he hasn't even stepped foot in the ring yet. And by the time he does, now you know he has arrived. You now know Penta is Penta. He was exactly what you were hoping for. Nothing has changed except for his music, which I'll say I think it's a little bit better. But now you get to watch what he does. And earlier today, I watched Rey Mysterio versus Chavo Guerrero because I thought Penta's match against Chad Gable was great. However, a lot of people like to go and be like, well, he missed the leg drop. He botched the leg drop. Like all of a sudden you guys are number one on the top 500 of PWI. Yeah, it didn't go as planned. But guess what? When I watched the Rey Mysterio match versus Chavo Guerrero, very early on in that match, Rey went for a Hurricane Rana and got the side of Chavo Guerrero instead of the front. Did anybody go on Twitter or any platforms back then and be like, Rey Mysterio botched the Hurricane Rana? He is not the same. No. Oh, yeah, by the way, it might be a thing that I start making fun of people that complain about wrestling online. Bear with me on that one. But yeah, even Rey Mysterio, the greatest luchador. In fact, I'll say this. A lot of people will say this person is the face of the company. This person is the face of the division. This person is the face of the style. Rey Mysterio is the mask of Lucha Libre. Rey Mysterio is the mask of professional wrestling. Rey Mysterio is the mask of sports entertainment. To me, he's one of the best to ever do it. I cannot believe he's doing what he's doing at his age. But even he had a little bit of even he in his debut match in WWE had something not go perfect, just like Penta did. Outside that, Penta had a great match with Chad Gable, just like Rey Mysterio. I think they picked the perfect first opponent. Chavo to Rey was what I think Chad Gable is for Penta. Bobby, you asked me what's next for Chad Gable? Penta. Why not do it again? Why not have them at Saturday night's main event? Why not? Chad Gable's pissed. Maybe he didn't think it was Penta. Maybe he was surprised that it was Penta. Maybe he was the only one person that didn't believe the hype that it was Penta, to the point where he wants another crack at Penta. Penta embarrassed him. Penta, there's no way. So give me Penta versus Chad Gable at Saturday night's main event. And you ask, what do you do after that? Well, guess what? You have the Creed brothers, Ivy Nile, try to get involved. Andre C., what's up, buddy? How are you doing? Thank you for joining. Appreciate you, my friend. It's good seeing you on in RCW last week. And just to answer your thing, I hate your shirt because I didn't have one. Not because I hated style. I just hated your shirt because I didn't have one. You know? Well, it's like a thing. Everybody wants the wrestler shirts. Why can't the wrestlers have the fan shirts? You know? It goes both ways, right? But nonetheless, how are you doing? Hope you're having a great Sunday. I hate styles. Have you seen me in a suit? I look pretty good. I look pretty good, man. I clean up nice. Or that's at least what my mirror says. Now we're talking a little Penta right now, Andre, and just that style. I do think Penta versus Chad Gable once again on Saturday night's main event would absolutely be crazy. And I think Saturday night's main event is a platform that it's going to be on the American television, right? Yes, we'll probably. I think Canada gets it on Netflix. But I think that's a great way for WWE to introduce Penta in the United States television audience. And I think that could be something important. Plus, I wouldn't be against Penta and friends going up against American Made in some way. Andre, you're right. I thought it was amazing. I thought Penta was fantastic. I love how we didn't get everything from Penta, but we got a lot from Penta. I'm very intrigued with what they do next with him. I'm very intrigued on the kind of trajectory for Penta. I'm very excited that I'm going to see Penta in the Royal Rumble match. And guess what, people? You don't need I have officially declared my entrance for the Royal Rumble to say that. He's going to be in the Royal Rumble. You don't think WWE is going to have this star-studded match and not say, hey, Penta, let's put you in a match with CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth freaking Rollins, Roman Reigns, John Cena. Yeah. Who wouldn't want to see an interaction with John Cena and Penta? Sign me up and paint me the color of Fruity Pebbles, please. Andre, you're getting ready to watch some damn good football. Yeah. How crazy was yesterday? I don't think anybody expected the Lions to lose that one. But yeah. Now, with Penta being WWE, what I love about this too, and a lot of people were wanting to see the Lucha Bros, and I think one of the greatest things in disguise right now is the situation that is happening, simply because I do think it puts Penta on a different pedestal right now. I think it allows him an opportunity to do something on his own accord. So by the time Rey Fénix does come over, I don't think it's a bad thing if they were to connect these two back together. But I think just the stock that Penta's name will have by then, it's going to be so good and so big, to the point where now, just by association, Rey Fénix is going to slide just right there. And then ultimately, in the long picture, both men are going to capitalize on this, because if by chance Penta is going to be this new toy that Triple H and that the WWE have, well, then in a year from now, when Rey Fénix does have his contract end with AEW, and he does make that swing over to WWE, because let's face it, we know it's going to happen. Then, if you thought you were just seeing maybe too much, it does happen. Sometimes you get things a little too much. It did happen with John Cena and Roman Reigns. And some people arguably say they're getting it right now with Cody Rhodes, and that's completely understandable. If by chance you do get this with Penta, Rey Fénix coming in is going to revitalize the whole thing for a lot of people, because then they could tail back and go into the tag team picture where you can get Lucha Bros against the Usos, Lucha Bros against Motor City Machine Guns, Lucha Bros versus DIY, New Day, Creed Brothers, Gallus, potentially. Like, there's endless opportunities here, and I think that's just a great thing about what we're seeing. So yeah. Also, Penta versus Rey Mysterio is going to happen, and I couldn't be more excited. And then on the flip side, Penta versus Dominic Mysterio is going to happen, and I couldn't be more excited. Yeah, Bobby, you're saying it's nice that Penta's having a singles run on WWE. I agree. I hope that kind of went even more into that comment that you had. Now, as we introduce Penta into the WWE, I do want to take this time to thank someone who's moving out of professional wrestling. That is the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. Last night on Collision, appeared that he had his final match. I've had the opportunity of seeing Christopher Daniels in a ring, through Ring of Honor. And it was an absolute pleasure. I think there is nothing that guy I don't think there's nothing that guy couldn't do in a ring. I think he was one of the most, I don't want to say underappreciated, but because he just didn't have a bad match, I thought that he got slapped in or just slapped into that category. And I don't think always like his Fallen Angel gimmick necessarily picked up with everyone. I think Curryman was fantastic, and I would have loved Curryman to be a little bit more of a modern day thing, because I think Curryman would have been hilarious. But I think Christopher Daniels is that one pro wrestler throughout the last 20 years that a lot of people, even more, 20, 30 years, that people just took for granted. I think, I mean, and there's a lot of rumors that he at one point was going to be the higher power in the WWF, which ultimately became Vince. And there were rumors that Christopher Daniels was going to be that guy. And I'm just curious. It's, what would have been different with Christopher Daniels had that stayed? And that's, to me, that's the only question mark, because I think Christopher Daniels, although, I mean, I'm jealous of the career he had. I mean, I don't think anybody who gets into professional wrestling would not want a career like Christopher Daniels. But I'm curious to see what that would have done for him, because I do think on a different level, that's what he missed from being a top guy. We saw him kind of be a top guy in Ring of Honor, especially when he saw the Second City Saints versus the Prophecy. I really liked like almost everything they were doing. That final kind of big tag match that they had was absolutely amazing. If people like going back and watching wrestling, I will say go back and watch that Second City Saints versus the Prophecy feud in Ring of Honor. You would be pleasantly surprised. It was a CM Punk led group going up against a Christopher Daniels led group. So yeah, I think it was a 6-man tag that ultimately finished it off with, I want to say, Danny Math and BJ Whitmer and Christopher Daniels up against Colt Cabana, CM Punk, and Ace Steel. I believe that was the tag match. And then you can't forget what he did with his run in TNA. That triple threat match with Joe and AJ Styles was absolutely amazing. And yeah, if it wasn't for the best moonsault ever, do we get the prettiest moonsault ever? So in a weird way, Christopher Daniels still lives on in professional wrestling through Tiffany Stratton, But yeah, no, I just wanted to give this moment to shout out not just an amazing performer, but really someone who throughout the wrestling community nobody ever had a bad word or a negative word to say about Christopher Daniels. So I want to take this time to thank Christopher Daniels on everything he's done, everything he's contributed to pro wrestling, but also at the same time, wish you everything positive for what's next in your life, because your mind and your passion for pro wrestling is something that benefits this business. So thank you once again. And as we kind of talk about things that are coming full circle, let's talk about what you people can watch moving forward on the Turnbuckle Studios. But before that, Bobby, you're coming in. Christopher Daniels is future Hall of Famer. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So right now we got a video calculating what you can find this week on Turnbuckle Studios and throughout the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program and the affiliates platforms. So let's go ahead and check that out right now, with the addition that Brace for Impact will be live tonight for the TNA Genesis watch along. So go check out that as well.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we got total non-stop action with Brace for Impact at 8 p.m. Friday we game again with Unleashed, the Jessica Wilde story at 7 p.m. Following the game, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday be sure to catch the Chris Perish podcast at 12:15 p.m. followed by the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
Yeah, and that's all the great stuff that we have coming up. So make sure that you check out as much as you can. But more importantly, we just ask, if you like what you see, make sure you send a like, a follow, subscription, anything like that on YouTube. If you can, hit a like on these videos, hit that notification bell button, because we'd like to see you in our chats every time we go live. What's actually funny, and I don't think you'll hear this from a lot of people, but you'll hear a lot, hit that notification bell so you get the alert when we go live. No. Please hit that so we can have the honor of having you in our chat when we go live, because that's really what it is. We love, or I know I just love engaging. I love talking to everyone in the chat. It's fun. It makes for a great stream. So I know I am not here without that beautiful support. So thank you. And as we embrace the partnership of content creator and chat, the WWE and TNA celebrated a partnership by agreeing to a multi-year deal. And this is something that I don't think a lot of people are surprised to read, but you go just a few years back, I don't think anybody expected WWE to full out partner with another wrestling promotion, especially one that was on the level of a TNA. So the single fact that we've now seen this, from a contract standpoint, I think it's pretty mind-blowing, simply because we have seen TNA and AEW work together. We have seen that partnership where we saw talents go from both shows. We've been seeing it lately with NXT. So it's going to be very intriguing to see kind of what that does. I think it's going to remain more of an NXT TNA partnership. But I think this does allow both parties to have a little bit more of maybe the main names. Like, I think this allows AJ Styles more than ever to appear on TNA. We know that Nick Nemeth, the current TNA World Champion, has invited John Cena over. How crazy would that be if John Cena appears in TNA at some point? Or any one of the WWE stars like Roman Reigns or Gunther. What happens if we got Gunther versus Josh Alexander just once? Come on. Who wouldn't like that? Braun Breaker versus Jake something? I'd be into that. I'd be very much into that. I think just the knockout tag team champions versus the WWE women's tag team champions should be something. I would love to see that. Who is your ultimate tag team champions? Come on. I think a lot of stuff could see it. In fact, I kind of would love, I'm going to say this, I would love to see a TNA kind of take over, or at least an attempt at something at WrestleMania. Like, I think it'd be really cool to see that. Another thing I kind of wanted to, I was also thinking, like, there's a lot of people, and the two that come to mind right away, Jordan Grace and Josh Alexander, that have been tied to potentially leaving TNA in the future and could be WWE. Now, Josh Alexander has already stated that February 14th would be his last day at TNA, and then on February 15th, I believe, he will test free agency. And then you add that with it was a rumor, then somehow turned to an expectation that as soon as Jordynne Grace's contract ends, she will sign with WWE. I mean, really, we don't know that for sure yet, but I do think that that's probably going to happen. Do we see talent kind of remain with TNA for, that time, knowing that there's going to be opportunities for the swing over? At this point, like, do some talents from TNA that had expiring contracts just say, you know what? Maybe I will just stay here at TNA for a bit, because when the time comes, I probably will go over to there. And for talent that maybe aren't sure about what's going to happen, maybe this is an opportunity for them to strengthen a relationship with WWE and to form that. So once their contract does end, there is now that bridge that they have to walk over when that time comes. I think you can go in so many different areas here, but the one thing I'm very much intrigued with is just how much this is going to build both NXT and TNA down the road. And I think that is the big question. Bobby coming in saying Leon Slater versus Javion Evans would be nice too. Yeah. I think Ace Austin versus Javion Evans. I think Javion Evans and Ace Austin could very well be a good pairing. Kind of just like what Chris Bay was. And I know he's out with an injury, and I do hope he gets better. And it's not even, we want you back in wrestling. I think everyone just wants you healthy. But yeah, I think Javion Evans would be a great piece on the TNA. Like, imagine him in the X division, I think would be fantastic. So yeah, I mean, we can debate and we can fantasize till Goldberg realizes what he wants to do moving forward. But I wanted to say something other than the cows come home, but I just couldn't think of anything, so bear with me. But yeah, no, I just think it's a very exciting time now to be not just a WWE or TNA fan, but just a pro wrestling fan in general, because we're seeing a lot of big moves, whether it's Netflix, whether it's AEW getting that television deal, which I think was HBO Max. We're seeing, I know AEW is going to Australia for a show. We're seeing WWE go everywhere globally now. Like Backlash is going to Mexico. Like, by the way, Backlash in Mexico, if Rey Mysterio versus Penta is not on that card, what are we doing? The only other match is a mask versus hair match with Dominic Mysterio for Rey. But if we don't get one of those, what are we doing? But yeah, I mean, and then you had this partnership. And then March of next year, we see Peacock's deal with WWE come to an end. And do they up it, or does Netflix buy it out? And then we see the complete library of WWE on Netflix. And then just thinking like 2028 and 2029, that's when the CW and USA networks deals with NXT and SmackDown come in. Do we see something even bigger then? Because 10 years ago, we weren't talking about Netflix like we are talking about it now. But 10 years from now, what's going to be that thing that we just talk endlessly about like we are now with Netflix? I don't know if I know anybody who doesn't have a Netflix account, or at least watches it, or has heard of it, or, so it's 10 years from now, like, if we think wrestling is different now, man, we haven't seen anything yet. But it's pretty freaking good right now. So yeah, that's gonna be kind of the question of the week. Move on Spotify. So if you do have a chance to like and follow the Chris Perish podcast on Spotify, please do so. It would be fantastic. But also, check us. Check out all the questions of the week that we have and answer them. That's why they're there. I want to engage with my audience and I want to engage with everybody, especially with the Chris Perish podcast draft part 2 that we had, or number 2, not part 2. It wasn't a continuation. It was a whole different episode. So yeah, please go check out that. Who you guys think won, and whose women's tag team do you think would win that fantasy matchup? I will have answers about that next week. So yeah, come next week, we will have that. 2 more topics on hand. One is we got a returning vignette on SmackDown for Charlotte Flair. And a lot of people are mixed on this, but let me tell you why this is important and a big deal. She's a bona fide superstar in professional wrestling. That's why it's a big deal. Whether you are a fan of her or not, that's on you. But the stat line is, she's a big freaking deal. Last name does hold weight in the wrestling business, but also so does her body of work. And because she comes from not just a family that was, that brought us a very decorated world champion. She also comes from a background where, she was part of the 4 Horsewomen, with Sasha, Bailey, Becky. We all know this. But not one of those people didn't have a successful career. But then she's been multi-champions, 14-time women's champion. Yes, I know nobody wants to hear how many times champion she is because we're sick of hearing how many championships her dad had. I get it. But the 14 times signifies just how successful she is. That's 14 times the company felt she had to be the one running the ship in that division. There's trust. You don't get there by mistake. You get there for a reason. Now that the landscape of women's wrestling has completely changed in the time that she's been away, when you just think about when she got hurt, there was no United States Women's Champion. There was no Women's Intercontinental Championship. Those are 2 different avenues she now can go to that she didn't have before. When she got hurt, Jade Cargill wasn't an active wrestler yet in WWE. She is now. Not as of late with the injury angle, but she's there now. When she got hurt, the whole TNA partnership wasn't a thing. It is now. You didn't see Liv Morgan get to that status on the card when she was hurt. She's there now. Nia Jax has completely turned a 360, I think, on everyone and has done some of her best work. She's there now. So if you thought the women's division in WWE was great, Charlotte Flair coming back is going to make it even greater, because not only does she have different people to work with, there are different avenues she could cross. Just think, you could see her maybe in a TNA ring at some point. That would be big. You can see her go up against a Liv Morgan, a Tiffany Stratton, who, by the way, women's champion. She wasn't even on the roster when Charlotte was hurt. She is now. But I think a lot of people want to see Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte, and I am one of those people. And for a lot of people, I know the argument that I see online is, I don't want to see Charlotte in front or around the championship right now. I don't want to see a 15th-time world championship. Okay, but do you not want the company to make money because her name would be on the headline? Because that's what happens. Do you not want somebody like Tiffany Stratton to have a more successful career because she'll be going up against a Charlotte Flair at a potential WrestleMania for the Women's Championship, and all of a sudden her name speaks with a greater, than before because Charlotte Flair name is attached to it? Like, I think a lot of people don't realize, just how important, superstars are to pro wrestling. Charlotte's a superstar, whether you like it or not. So if somebody gets to work with her, guess what? That helps you. And not only does it help you, but what you bring to the table, mix it with Charlotte, that just makes Charlotte even greater. So Charlotte Flair in this division in WWE coming back is a big deal. And on top of that, you still have Becky Lynch. You still have Alexa Bliss. And then, if you're like, okay, our main event scene for the women's division's good. Okay, just down the road, you'll get Asuka. And then you'll also get Carmella. So just when you think you're already loaded, guess what? There's more coming. And then, oh yeah, by the way, in due time, you're going to see talents like Stephanie Valkyria, like Delta, like, Roxanne Perez is going to be coming up. Then you have Julia. All these women are still going to come from NXT and come up. Oh yeah, then you got people like Kalani Jordan, who is just, I think, breaking expectations and just surprising people. I thought her run as the North American champion, phenomenal. Jada Parker, who that's going to bring some action. Imagine Jada Parker and Bianca Belair as a team. You give Bianca Belair that little bit of an attitude as a heel persona right now, and then you mix that in with that little spunk of Jada Parker. Oh my God. And then if you want, just throw in a healed Naomi in there and she has some power too. Yeah. They're going to rip you a new one on the mic alone. Suplex Assassin Alex Kane, thank you for joining on Instagram. Appreciate you, my friend. How are you doing? MLW is doing all right. I know it's kicking some ass, and you are a real big part of it. But yeah, we're going to get to a quick little video prompting some Rogue Energy, and then I'm going to run down the TNA Genesis lineup. So please, if you need a little restock of anything, now is the time. But also, if you need some ideas of what to restock up too, make sure you're checking out some Rogue Energy. I love the blue raspberry. I love the strawberry banana. Those are my two personal favorites. I mean, can you go wrong with blue raspberry if anything? I mean, I think a lot of people love the Sour Patch Kid blue raspberry. I see those just trolling social media now because you can get them in just that flavor. So I mean, that's pretty cool. I want to get some of those. But yeah, right now we're gonna go through the TNA Genesis lineup. So bear with me on that. Please let me know in the comments to your predictions. First off, I'm going to start out with the kickoff match, the preliminary match. They say the countdown to Genesis, and that is Frankie Kazarian versus Leon Slater. And I think this is a Chris Best saying I like the blood orange. It's also a good one too. Frankie Kazarian versus Leon Slater in the countdown to Genesis pre-show match. I think I have Frankie Kazarian picking up the win. I know he has that briefcase still to where he can get a title shot. So I wouldn't be surprised that they just keep rolling with him right now. I know that Leon Slater is kind of, building up some steam right now, and I don't think a loss to Frankie Kazarian hurts him in any way, but I do think Frankie Kazarian is just that force. Although I can also see it go the other way because he does have that briefcase, and you know what? Even with a loss, he could just cash it in, and he's world champion, and he doesn't lose any luster. However, I am predicting Frankie Kazarian for that win. Then we get to the main card, and we have the System in Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers taking on the team of Eric Young and Steve Macklin. And as much as I want to go with my Canadian cohort in Eric Young, I do think the System has the advantage in this match. They do have the wife of Eddie Edwards there with them. She is someone that you cannot forget about. So I do think she's there. Although I kind of want ODB to return and help out the team of Eric Young and Steve Macklin and kind of be that. That's what I want, but I'm going to predict the team of the System taking the win because I think Alicia Edwards is that one person who's going to sway the match in their direction. And then for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships, we got Dana Luda and Jody Threat taking on Ash by Elegance and then Heather by Elegance with the personal concierge. I don't think I see a title change here at all. In fact, I think, this match this card could go a little heel heavy. So I do think you need some, actually, you know what? I'm going to scratch that. I don't think it's going to be heel heavy, but I do think this is the match where the baby faces are going to win. I think Dana Lynn and Jody Threat are going to get that win. In fact, I have Jody Threat defeating Heather by Elegance to retain the titles for her team. Once again, if you guys want to comment, give me your predictions. I'm all ears, and I want to hear it. So let me know in the comments. If I'm going too fast, just say, Perish, hold up. Unless you just want to go through this. Next up, we have Jordan Grace versus Tessa Blanchard. I know there are a lot of people reporting or rumoring, however you want to phrase it, that this is Jordan Grace's last match in TNA. If that's the case, I do see Tessa Blanchard winning. Even if she stays, I still see Tessa Blanchard winning for the sole point that this match is designed more to get Tessa Blanchard over than it is Jordan Grace. I don't think Jordan Grace gets affected by a loss tonight. I think Jordan Grace is at a level in this women's division in TNA She's untouchable. She's Teflon. Nothing's going to affect her. But Tessa Blanchard needs this win more than anything. And I think that is why Tessa Blanchard winning this match makes all the sense in the world. If, by chance, this is Jordynne Grace's last match in TNA, what a career in TNA by Jordynne Grace. If it's not, I'm very much excited to see the next chapter, although it would be, in my eyes, a continuation of this feud. But let's recognize the work of Jordynne Grace in TNA, Impact Wrestling, all the way up to now, including tonight, because I do think she is a TNA Hall of Fame worthy candidate. This brings us to an I Quit match between Josh Alexander and Mike Santana. News broke that Josh Alexander's wife officially left TNA. It is highly expected that so will Josh Alexander, as he has already said he plans to test free agency when his contract does hit in February. He had said this on the Chris Van Vliet podcast on Insight. However, he did not rule out staying with TNA. So let's kind of pump the brakes on where he's going to go, because he might not even go anywhere. But he has himself admitted he's going to test free agency, because he said, this might be the only time in my career I get to do so. And wrestling is pretty hot right now, so I'd be a fool not to look at my options. And I can't blame him in any way for that. In fact, that's pretty smart if you ask me. You go where the money and the opportunity lay. You don't go necessarily what your heart wants. Although it's nice to see that once in a while, and I hope people are happy no matter where they go. But at the end of the day, family and self-happiness should always be first. Nonetheless, I do think Mike Santana gets the win here. I do think he does not utter the words "I quit." In fact, I do think Josh Alexander will say that. And I do think Mike Santana could be the name to watch in TNA for 2025. Yeah, he might not be the world champion right now, but I'm predicting by the year's end, Mike Santana is going to be in that world title picture, if not champion, by the end of 2025. Next up, we've got the X Division Championship, Ace Austin versus Moose. Now, this is a match I am torn on, because I, at first, did not want Moose as an X Division champion. Now, I don't know if I want somebody else to be X Division champion. I think Moose is doing a fantastic job. I think him as a champion is awesome. I think him as the X Division champion. I think I like him as the X Division champion more than I liked him as the World Heavyweight Champion. But at some point, somebody is going to beat him for that X Division Championship. And I think Ace Austin could be that guy. I am going to predict that we are going to see a new TNA X Division champion, and his name is Ace Austin. Then, in what I believe is a semi-main event, we got the TNA Knockouts World Championship in a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match between Masha Slamovich and Rosemary. I think if everyone is paying closely, WWE TNA Partnership. I think Wendy Chu gets involved in this match and somehow plays a factor in Rosemary not winning the championship. I do predict Masha Slamovich to remain and to retain her Knockouts World Championship. And if you ask, well, what would you do moving forward? Why not? Why not have Zarya, aka Delta, come out and challenge her at the end of this match? We saw Masha Slamovich at an NXT in the crowd. It's either her or maybe a Cora Jade. One of those two. Cora Jade could make sense because we did see her in the entrance to Cora Jade. But I think Zarya would present. I mean, that's more of a match I want to see. But Cora Jade makes a lot more logical sense based on the interaction they had with, not even an interaction, but just the timing of, oh, we're going to show the TNA Knockouts World Champion. Oh, yeah. Here comes Cora Jade. Yeah, I see the line in the sand here. Then in what is considered a dream match for the Tag Team Championships, the TNA World Tag Team Championships, and the other co-semi-main event, we have the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy. Well, they're just called the Hardys. They go up against the Rascals of Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. I think this is just a straight-up tag match. I do think if there was a gimmick involved in this match, I would have picked the Rascals. But I think for the time being, I think I'm going to choose Matt and Jeff Hardy to win and to retain their championships. And if by chance we haven't seen anything yet with the WWE TNA kind of partnership, this could be a very interesting time to have Axiom and Nathan Frazier show up. Nathan Frazier has kind of made people believe he's going to appear at TNA Genesis. I think this could be the right opportunity. You have your TNA World Tag Team Champions face off with the NXT Tag Team Champions. I mean, come on. I mean, at some point, you're going to do NXT Worlds Collide, and what better way to do it than TNA versus NXT? And I think that makes all the sense in the world. So maybe you just have champions face off with champions there. Which in that case, Masha Slamovich and Julia. And I'm just like, okay, I have time for that. I have all the time. I will clear my schedule because I now have time for that. Yeah. Speaking of time, it is now time for the main event prediction for TNA Genesis. You have Nick Nemeth versus Joe Hendry. Yes, I said his name. Joe, are you appearing? Come on now. Come on now. It's an open invite. You have whenever you want. If you can clear your schedule and make the time, I welcome you to the Chris Perish podcast. Just putting it out there. But Nick Nemeth does defend his championship against Joe Hendry, and something to take note, we have seen Nick Nemeth's brother as of late kind of be that, hey, don't trust Joe kind of a thing. I think in a swerve, Nick Nemeth's brother costs Nick the championship, but I can also see a potential heel turn of Nick Nemeth, a full-on heel turn right now. I see three different scenarios which Nick Nemeth and his brother maybe screw Joe Hendry out of the title and they do a heel turn. I see potentially Joe Hendry winning the championship and it's a feel-good story. But then I also see a potential where Joe Hendry wins the championship. Everyone's like, and then Frankie Kazarian cashes it in and leaves TNA Genesis as TNA World Champion. So, which one of those do I think I see? It's 2025, people. We're doing some big things. I think Joe Hendry wins the TNA World Championship. I think divides the odds. I think the show ends with everybody waving their hands in the air. I think we see confetti. I think we see pyro. I think we see an era being moved. I think after tonight, the whole world, if you haven't already, will be saying Joe Hendry. But I also think you'll be saying world champion Joe Hendry. And with that, that's going to wrap up the Chris Perish Podcast, episode 60. I just want to take time to thank every single one of you for being along the ride. By chance, if you still want to get your fill of content creation, your introduction to podcasting, make sure you go and check out affiliationprogram.my.canva.site. Yes, that's my phone going off. I apologize. If you want to get more information about myself, go to my link tree at link.tr.ee/Chris Perish. And on that link tree, you will see not only the 5 platforms you see today, my Facebook, my X, my Twitch, my Instagram, and my YouTube, but you'll also see my Blue Sky. Yes, I'm on Blue Sky now. You can check that out. Hopefully one day I can make that a permanent platform of the Chris Perish Podcast as well. But you will also see my Spotify. And if you can go to Spotify and you can like and follow the Chris Perish Podcast on there, that would be greatly appreciated. Make sure that you answer all the weekly questions that are on there. Partake if you like. But make sure, and then if you can, rate the Chris Perish Podcast 5 stars, please. I mean, I like stars. So I like all 5. I mean, King Kong Bundy liked 5. Big E liked 5. Booker T liked 5. I mean, in my immediate family, there was 5. The same. I mean, 5's okay. So until next week, I will bid you guys all adieu. They're not playing today, but I always remember, go Saints. But more importantly, everyone, make sure you're happy. Make sure you're healthy. You know, I support every aspect of that. If you guys have an issue, reach out, get help. But be happy, be healthy, because at the end of the day, you matter. Have a good night, everyone, and take care.